Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time zone you're in. My name is Trey, and today I just want to talk about the whole idea of lifestyle creep and how it's not very creepy. It is not very creepy if you are someone that has been in the financial space for a long time and you've already taken action to get out of debt, build a sustainable budget, make certain progress towards your goals. Anyway, I'm gonna have a thesis at the end of this that like sums this up a lot better that I actually have written down. So points for me for like writing an outline for this episode. But basically, I really don't think that a lot of people in this community have to be as worried about quote unquote lifestyle creep. And I know that's not true for a lot of people. I mean, there are some people that as soon as they get out of debt or as soon as they achieve, a financial goal that they've been working towards, they give up because they're not as motivated anymore. So I do think that it's important to have a plan and be striving towards something, but only as it makes sense to you. And I think a lot of the times along the way, there are moments where you can indulge and you can sustainably increase your lifestyle while you're working towards that like big audacious goal, big audacious financial goal, whether that's FIRE, or whether that's getting out of debt, or whether that's building an emergency fund. And I have some examples from my own life and my own journey that I will be going over, Henny. But first, I wanted to talk about the things that I have allowed myself to indulge in. I was going to say creep up upon. I'm like, that's not a phrase. Again, English, not my strong suit. But I think that would be like a more fun format. So I'm going to talk about the things that I personally enjoy that I have sustainably increased my budget towards as I've worked towards other financial goals. So the first thing, now that I've reached a point in my finances where I have enough room to do this while pursuing other things, is groceries. When I was getting out of debt, I would only buy store brand items, whether that was hygiene items that were less effective, or whether that was discounted produce because it was like low UGO, or maybe it was like starting to go bad. I would legitimately buy food that was going bad and meal prep it and like cook it the same day so that it would last longer, just so I could get the discounted price. And there's nothing wrong with that if you enjoy doing that, but I don't enjoy doing that. And I was making myself very miserable doing that. I mean, not very miserable, but like I was stressing myself out a lot more so I could save a couple dollars. And at one point that didn't matter anymore. And I really didn't need to do that, but I kept doing it, and kept making myself miserable, which is stupid at some point, honestly. So yeah, but nowadays guess what? I do buy coffee. I still go to cafes and stuff, but I will say that I do right now. I oscillate between like going and getting coffee out multiple times a week, and making my own indoors. And the reason for that mostly is because I am very sensitive to caffeine, and so when I control it at home, I can more control the caffeine intake. Whereas if I buy it out, I can't as much. Though I can start to. I mean, if you go to Starbucks or something, you can get like 2/3 decaf or whatever. So I learn about that too. So I kind of just like oscillate between the two versus like what I'm feeling in that current moment, because I have the funds to be able to do that if I want to. And if making my own coffee at home is stressing me out, or honestly, when I can make my own coffee at home, that's when I like sometimes go overboard, because I'm like, well, this is obviously very cheap. This is like 30 cents per glass of iced coffee that I'm making. I can just make another one, and then my caffeine content goes crazy. I have panic attacks, and it's not good. But anyway, that's just one example of groceries, which probably was a bad example, because now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, that's one area where I could cut back and it would actually probably be healthy for me. But a lot of people don't have panic disorder. So anyway, just in general, like the produce, for example, like I am not ever going to buy like slightly nasty stuff anymore because in reality, it's only adding a couple more dollars to my grocery bill, and it's probably healthier, and I'm happier. Even if it's just peace of mind, I'm less stressed about it. So that is what it is. I also indulge in like chips and snacks because, again, even though chips are expensive, when you think about it, that's like $5 to $10 extra per week of buying 1 to 2 snacks for the week. When you are at a certain part in your journey, and by you, I mean me, but this can be generalized, $10 a week, that's like $40 a month. That's not breaking the bank anymore. And deciding, I guess I'm already getting to the point. I'm already getting to the thesis, but like the overarching thesis is just when you get to a certain level of stability within your finances, switching from economy-based budgeting to value-based budgeting is more advantageous because your mental health is going to go farther than your dollars will at some point in your life. Like, it's really not all or nothing thinking. And that was such a revolutionary idea to me because I came from the Dave Ramsey background. Like, that is how I got out of debt. And I do think that that type of mental model is helpful when your debt to income ratio is like over 1 to 1. So I think I said it on one of the other episodes, but if you're new here, I graduated with like $45,000-ish in student loan and car debt. And I was making $37,000 at the beginning of my financial journey. And I job hopped a lot to now triple that income, which is insane, over the course of 5 years. But in the beginning, I had to have this mindset of everything has to be about the dollar. So I did stuff like buying moldy groceries and shit like that. And so I have really accelerated my timeline. Again, I started out only just 5 years ago, making a third of what I do now. And so I have dramatically ameliorated my situation, right, in a short amount of time. And so I am still having to play these mental gymnastics with myself about what is okay for me to spend on. Like, what things are okay to go to value-based budgeting versus this economy model. And so groceries, I have found, is definitely worth it. And the next thing that I already touched on was like health type items, well, hygiene type items. So I kind of separate this out from groceries, but things like, oh my God, shaving cream. I was buying the fucking $1 Barbasol cans, and I still have one because they last for like a fucking year. But they're not, one, I think I have cancer. No, I shouldn't say that. I should not joke about that. I apologize. But like, I think that I do, like, it feels like I don't know. It just does not feel healthy on my skin. My skin always feels irritated after. But I did it because it was economy-based spending, and it honestly lasts forever. And I am so triggered by like value, like the deal, and not one of those people where I'm like, oh, I'm always shopping for a sale that really is just getting you to spend more money. Like, no, I do the math. I'm in this finance community. And I do the math to make sure that it's worth it. But if I can get something down to like, this is like a penny a use, which it definitely is with those cans, I'm going to buy it. And so that's another thing where recently I've switched to like this buttery type thing. It's like this, I think, like Scandinavian brand, and I forget, but it has like the orange tube and it like has like a windmill on the cover. It's like shaving butter. That has been a game changer for my skin. Like, I feel much less irritated after shaving. And another thing is just being okay with buying the like mid-shelf razors, because they're like $20 a cartridge, which is ridiculous to me. But I really need that like mid-tier, like 5-blade-in-1 thing to with the buttery shaving cream to make myself feel okay like after shaving. And that's ridiculous. I don't even know. Let's go back actually to fucking caveman era. Who decided to put like a razor blade to their fucking face? Who decided to get sea glass from the goddamn ocean and be like, you know what? I'm gonna run this along my face. Like, who discovered that? And are they okay? Are they okay? I don't know. I'm sure their face was red as hell. You know it was. It wasn't controlled like that shit is today. They didn't have shea butter or whatever the fuck. So anyway, but yeah, it's just been a journey of finding the right combination for me. And over the past 5 years, that's something that I realized I cannot skimp out on anymore, because it really does have an impact on my attitude, honestly. And now I shave right after the shower because my skin is much more like open, I guess. Like all the dirt is washed off, and I don't know the science behind this, but are my pores more open because of the heat? I don't know. Someone tell me, but it's definitely a lot easier to shave with the right materials and in the right conditions, aka being wet, aka being wet. So yeah, that's another thing. To continue along kind of the theme of health, the next thing that I've switched to value-based budgeting for is hygiene. Oh, no, I just said that. Kidding. Exercise. So moving away from diet, going into exercise. Gym memberships. Listen, here's the thing. So I am not a weights person. I'm not even really like a cardio person. I'm not a type of person that's like, I have a workout regimen. I think that's boring. I hate it. And I've never been able to stick to something like that. I'm much more likely to stick to an exercise regimen just based off how I feel after I'm done the workout. And like, I've never been super motivated by visible results. I'm kind of a lanky guy, or well, not as much anymore. I definitely put on weight after college and stuff from doing fucking office job. But I would say I'm still pretty slim. And I guess because of that, I've just felt kind of okay in my body. And with gay men, particularly, like slim when you're in your 20s is the ideal body type. And I mean, I definitely have my own body issues for sure, but I think that's something that I've been able to keep under wraps like pretty well. And by that, I don't mean like shoving down all my feelings. Like, no, I've talked about it in therapy and stuff. And I work on my own thoughts surrounding negative body image sometimes. But I think for the most part, that's an area in my life that I have to worry very little about. And a lot of that is just chance into like what the ideal body is in, society standards for the identities that I belong to and identify with. So that's that. That was a tangent, but basically, yeah. So like, I don't have those exterior motives to push me to doing like a specific regimen. Like I've done those before just to try and be fit. Like just the idea of being fit is appealing to me. But I never am able to keep up with it. It's always a fad. And like doing like crunches and like sit-ups and push-ups and step-ups like in my room while listening to like dubstep or whatever the fuck is low-key my worst nightmare. So what's really motivating to me instead is doing an activity, like a physical activity that's just fun. So I love to go on hikes. I love to go biking. And right now I'm very into climbing. I used to be a figure skater. I didn't really compete. I never competed, but I did do like the moves in the field tests, like just for my own enjoyment. And I had a coach, and that was my regular exercise. I used the rink like a gym because it was just so fun to me. And that's how I would get my cardio and strength and flexibility. Skating requires all of those things. And so that was super fun. And I was fit when I was doing that regularly. And now I rock climb. I switched because, honestly, figure skating, very expensive. But on top of that, the real reason that I don't pursue it anymore is because, in addition to it being expensive, the culture around the sport is very toxic. So if you've ever seen Spitting Out on Netflix, that show is fucking ridiculous and stupid. But unfortunately, I think it's obviously an dramatization. That sounds stupid. Dramatization. I think that's it. I don't fucking know. But it's obviously very fake and very overdone, but I think it gets kind of the base culture of figure skating correct, and that is very sad. But that's just something that I've noticed. And there also weren't a lot of people my age. Like, there's not really a 20-something culture around skating. It's getting better, but it's still pretty niche. Like, a lot of the communities are over the internet. We're finding people in their 20s doing it for the first time. It's mostly kids doing it for the first time, or like older adults that are retired. Older, just, senior citizens that are retired that have the time to do it. Because it's also like a lot of limited resources. Not to go on this entire tangent, but we're going there, honey. I could talk about it forever, so I'll try and keep it to a minimum. But with figure skating, you need access to the rink, and that is gatekept by time slots, because it's a very expensive resource to upkeep, obviously. And so it's very expensive, and you have a limited time window to access the rink, depending on what level you're at. So, you're fighting for resources when you're on the ice, and a lot of the times you're fighting for the same resources as kids that are taking this very seriously, and so the culture is just meaner, to be honest. And so it really doesn't align with me with economy-based spending or value-based spending. So that's why I switched to rock climbing. I also just really enjoy rock climbing, and the 20 to 30 somethings culture is peak with rock climbing. Oh my god, I just used a pun. It's peak. But it is. So the culture is mostly like that age range, and it's just really fun, and the culture is very laid back. It's very much opposite of ice skating, and so I just feel much more at home in the gym, even though the membership at the gym is over $100 a month now, which is redonkulous. I don't know how sustainable it is going to be like long term, but I think at least within the next couple of years, especially if I do maintain in corporate, which you guys know the goal is to not. But I mean, even if I downshift, like I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up rock climbing. Maybe there'll have to be some type of way around it. Like maybe I find places to do it outdoors more, so I don't have to rely on the gym membership. But that's something that I'm just not going to give up. All right, so moving out of the health space and into the entertainment space. So one thing that I love and have always loved since I was a little kid are movies and video games. Movies are getting so expensive these days, and same with video games. But the thing about movies is there's always something new out, like within your genre, most of the time, especially horror. So horror back in the day, it was like there wasn't stuff out in springtime that were horror movies. But nowadays I noticed that like horror is in, like horror is hip, and it kind of is more genre bending now. Like, I mean, Get Out, I think really, and Jordan Peele in general, I think really changed the trajectory of the genre. And same with like A24 in general, I think is really expanding the genre. Like it feels more drama now, which I really appreciate. Like I really, really appreciate, because a lot of elements of horror that work really well are just playing on the horrors of everyday life. And I think horror allows us in general, again, to dramatize those things, and make them supernatural and like fun. But I think they're like a good case study, like when the backdrop of the horror is like family trauma. Like Hereditary is the perfect example of that. Or relationship issues like Midsummer. That's Oster, right? Is the director, his film after Hereditary. But yeah, I just really enjoy, or racism, obviously, with Get Out. So I think exploring those concepts through horror is really satisfying and really important for the advancement of the genre, and those conversations. So anyway, I've loved movies, and even though they're getting expensive, I will continue to go to the theater. And the same thing with video games. I just bought a game for $70. That's kind of the new standard. Like new games now. I think I paid $70 for Tears of the Kingdom, the new Zelda game that came out last spring. And I just paid $70 for the new Final Fantasy VII Remake. And the thing with video games is they're actually still a really good ROI. Like if you want to think about it from an economy, like budgeting perspective, like even $70, like these games that I buy specifically, RPGs are usually like 40 plus hours. And these days, since open world is so big, I do think that that's going to change, honestly. I think that that's probably going to revert soon because I can't keep up with all this shit. Like how many side quests there are in a single game is crazy and taxing, and I am more of a completionist. So honestly, I probably just need to change my attitude about it and only do the things that are really fun for me in the game, since it's supposed to be about fun anyway. But I do like a challenge, so I try and go through as many side quests as I can, and that's again at least really good for the ROI if you're looking at it from the economy perspective. Because if you're playing like 40 plus hours at least just for the main story, but like with the side quests, you're putting in an extra 20 hours or whatever, then it's like $70 for 60 hours of content. Like you're only paying like a little over $1 per hour, which if you're watching a movie and you get like popcorn and like shit like that, like you're paying like what, like $25 to $30 for an hour and a half to 2 hours of content. So you're paying $15 an hour for the movies. So yeah, but again, we're trying not to think like that anymore. So really, I think that just the value that I get from these games, like the idea of exploring worlds that don't exist and being able to express yourself through these avenues that you just obviously can't do through real life, I think that that is so fun. I think it actually does help, like depending on the game, it really can help develop skills like reaction time, or I mean honestly just like world building, like opening up your imagination. Like I think that that's something that we don't value as much as a society, and what's funny is like people really value that through books, but then not as much through like movies and like video games, I guess because the world is somewhat built for you. But I don't know, at least for me, like that's like video games are just something that I've been drawn to since I was like 7 years old, and they have helped me out through really hard times in life too. Like they can be really therapeutic. Sometimes escapism can be therapeutic, but it's not just all escapism. Like it is problem solving. A lot of games are problem solving. Like there are literally just puzzle games like Zelda. Oh my God. Zelda's one huge puzzle game that's like never ending. So, like especially Tears of the Kingdom, and the first one, Breath of the Wild. I mean, all of those little games in the temples are teaching you how to engineer, legitimately teaching you how to engineer, especially Tears of the Kingdom, when you're able to fuse items and literally be creative, like create new tools that don't exist. Like that's so insane. Like the possibilities are really endless. So yeah, I think video games get kind of a bad rep, and especially games like that are open world, that do let you like create stuff like Tears of the Kingdom. Like you can play that forever and like come back to it every few years or whatever. And both from an economy perspective and just like inner value, like growth perspective, I think the return on that, no matter what way you look at it, is going to be positive. So yeah, step it up for video games. Okay. What else do I have on this list? Oh man, I think that's it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, travel. I think that now when it comes to travel, like I'm not gonna be like living in hostels. I'm not gonna be staying at hostels anymore. Like I do value comfort somewhat, especially when it comes to sleep. I do think this actually goes back into the health category. It really can. So if I'm going to be traveling, like, of course, I'm not leaving that economy-based, like, thought process totally behind. Like, I'm not being careless, but I'm not going to book just the cheapest thing, which would probably be a hostel no matter where you stay. So I would so much rather have my own room with my partner and be comfortable if we can. Like if there are, for example, me and my partner, we're not good sleeping partners. Like like within the same bed, he snores and I'm a very light sleeper. So I bring like a noise machine and I like to sleep in a different bed sometimes because, again, if he's rolling around or if I'm rolling around, I can hear him waking up too. Like there's just, I don't know, like, so basically like booking a room with 2 beds sometimes instead of a single bed can be worth it if it's not that much more. Like it's really just up to a certain point. And oh yeah, I can give examples. So when after I had gotten out of debt, I had achieved that really audacious financial goal for the time when my debt to income ratio, was like high. And so I was pocketing just the extra money in my budget from not having to pay debt at first. But then I started to do the math. And so groceries was, I think, the first thing that I really increased my spending on, because my next goal was to save up a 6-month emergency fund, which I had set at $12,000 because I was spending roughly $2,000 total per month. So I was like, okay, $12,000 is going to be my target for an emergency fund. And I was doing the math and I was like, I could technically save this in like 7 months, or I could allow myself some flexibility to increase my grocery and entertainment budget a little bit and reach this goal in 9 months. And so I had to just answer that very personal question for myself: is 2 months of time worth like 9 months of flexibility, essentially? Like 9 months worth of increased entertainment and a better food experience. And so I had to ask myself that question, like, is essentially bettering my health and allowing myself some luxuries for 9 months worth a sacrifice of just 2 months' time of building this emergency fund? And the answer was pretty easily yes for me. So I did take 9 months to build up my emergency fund, and I don't regret it at all. Yeah. I'm like, there's not really much else to say. Like, I would hope that most people would choose that choice, because yes, of course, like, not having an emergency fund is an emergency and all that, but the risk to me of that extra 2 months, I'm like the chances of something completely going wrong and you not being able to cover it, especially if that emergency did happen within the last 2 extra months, I'm like, you've already built up the majority of your fund, right? So like at that point, like, the risk isn't much increased by allowing yourself to just like have fun and like have fun within the time that you're reaching this other audacious goal. Like, because if a catastrophe happens within the first like 3 months of you building up that emergency fund, it doesn't really matter if you were allowing yourself the extra like $50 to $100 in grocery and entertainment budget for the month or not, because that $50 to $100 likely isn't going to make the difference of covering that emergency if you've only been saving, 2 to 3 months. Like, your medical bills, it's probably not going to be a difference of like $100 that like makes or breaks you, for example, if you had like a medical disaster. So yeah, like I just want that to be the message, I guess. Yeah, that is the thesis, right? Like, that is the thesis. Like, take care of yourself and allow yourself to have fun, because when you're pursuing these audacious goals, like, that's what's going to keep you going. And at least personally, from my experience, when I got out of debt, I really didn't feel that much better. I didn't, because I kept on just pocketing the money and not allowing myself to reap the benefits of all the hard work that I had been doing for the past 2.5 years. So yeah. Yeah, I'll end it there. I hope this was interesting to you or helpful in some way. Again, leave feedback in whatever format is good for you, whether that's a comment or a rating. I'd appreciate whatever. whatever your honest feedback is, whether that's good, neutral, or negative. So thank you so much for listening, and have a great rest of your day, evening, night, whatever time zone and whatever experience you're having right now is. Okay, bye.